Hey everybody, as you know, it is November 17th, 2011, and I'm day 9, woo! I'm day 9, yes, and today is day 9 daily number 379, where you learn to be a better gamer. Hell, we learn to be a better gamer, because I do just as much learning as you do. I'm not making this up. Oh, study time live with lots of talking. And today we have something extra special occurring. We are going to be doing a Choose Your Own Adventure daily where we're going to be selecting both the game to choose and we're going to be getting polls live from the audience as to what specifically we want to look at. That's great. I'm so happy. Now let me just show you the way a reminder note looks. Now see, here's my overlay. This is the main overlay that I used before. You know, you'll see this when I go to commercial break. You'll see this at the start. And whenever I'm really having a hard time remembering what to do, I just put on an overlay like that. This is a reminder. You might put a post-it note on your forehead or something. You might tie it to your car keys. But no. I do an overlay because if I go live and I see this, I'm like, oh, that's a good point. I got to talk about NASL. Yes, I'm of course casting the grand final of the North American Star League. And I will be doing a daily live from the NASL Grand Finals. It's going to be good. Isn't that cool? I can do a daily live in front of the audience. And as we're going to do in this Choose Your Own Adventure daily, I'm going to be asking you to type 1 or 2, depending upon your decision in the polling. And in that audience, I'll just have you hold up your hands with a 1 or a 2. Live audience interaction, baby. So now let's go ahead and talk about the 2 games that we may end up selecting today. No, let's not do that. This weekend is MLG Providence. I won't be there because I'm the best man at a wedding, doing a wedding speech. Oh, way scary. Then after that, I'm going to be doing DreamHack, which you can watch live on this very stream, day9.tv/live. So excited. And now let's talk about the 2 games that we can do today. Get ready, Marky. Get ready. The first game is a Protoss versus Terran. It is a game between Naniwa and Empire Happy, where we're actually going to see a different opening from Happy. He's going to do something different. He's not going to do just the usual expand and go Marine Marauder Medevac. He's going to do a lot of a sort of different-ish style, sort of a refinement of what he's done beforehand. Number 2 is going to be a very long NASL game between Kiwikaki and Morrow. There are some long periods of passivity, but Kiwikaki does his usual get motherships and carriers and all that good jazz, and Morrow does his usual I am just a good Zerg player with cool style sort of thing. Ha! So now Markio is going to set the chat at 1 if you would like the Empire Happy game versus Naniwa, and 2 if you would like the Morrow Kiwikaki game on Crevasse. Looks like Marth Vader and Markio are preparing the chat to go, and while this goes on, I just want to note that every now and again this ends up happening where I'll start perusing through replays, and then there'll be like some divergence of topics where I'm like, well, that's actually a pretty good game, but it's not very interesting. But the idea behind it is good, so I'll end up doing that maybe tomorrow, or maybe if I can find another replay. Or you know, like with the Goody games, I watched a bunch of Goody games, and I said, he's doing the same build a bunch of games in a row. Let me just do a compare and contrast between those. Or today, I'm like, you know what, I really couldn't choose what to do. And I was actually sitting here deliberating, like, as you know, I didn't do a daily yesterday because I was ill, and I was like, oh, God, maybe I'll feel better and end up doing maybe a compare and contrast with the Empire Happy game, and then I was like, screw it. I'll vote. And that's what's ending up happening. And it looks like my monitor cable is way loose on this monitor because it keeps just turning off and turning back on again. And it looks like 63% of people voted for us to do a Kiwikaki game, and I don't blame you because Kiwikaki is a sexy thing. So let's hop into this. This is between Reigns, Kiwikaki, and Mouse Sports Morrow on NASL Crevasse. So let us load up the game over here. Ta-da! Kiwikaki spawning in the bottom right. And uh-oh, do I have sound on? Do I have sound on? Oh, I actually did have it on this time. That is fantastic. And in the top right we have Morrow. Now, the one thing that I suppose would make me feel a little bit leery of doing a game like this one is the fact that on Crevasse you have this mini expansion here. This very well defended mini expansion. Obviously you wall off the front, free backdoor, boom, and sort of just roll along with it. And that's not really the case on any of the other maps. Pretty much all other maps have these full, juicy expansions on them. I kind of hope more maps just have the trend of having these half-C expansions. This is all good jank. Though, because Kiwikaki is going to end up doing something nice and standard, as is Morrow. And of course, I just want to say, make sure that everything is okay audio, video-wise, because my screen keeps flickering. Good stuff. Good stuff. So let's speed it up. To the good game, good luck. Now, at the end of part 1, what we're going to do is take live questions rather than do the big build-up of questions at the end. So make sure that you have those questions starting to stock on up comfortably. So Morrow's going to do as usual, grab his spawning pool early. And just to talk a little bit about the matchup in general, Zergs have been doing this thing lately, I guess I would say maybe 2 months ago and previous, where Zergs would just defend and drone, and the way the other player would deal with it is by building up these big, scary attacks with a little bit of early harassment. Big, scary attacks like crazy marine tank pushes, with a little bit of harassment of Hellions before then. Or big 6-7 warp gate aggression, with a little bit of Phoenix Void Ray before then. But what I'm interested in is not like harassment, not like one Void Ray, or one Phoenix, or hell, 4 Hellions. I'm more interested in early attacks. We got a chance to see that with Goody. The trend, the shift, has been doing stuff like this. We see Kiwikaki boldly just planting down 2 gateways. He did do this against Stefano. But the architecture of the map here is much different and much more cool. So we're going to go ahead and do a good old focus on Morrow for the early parts of the game. And of course Morrow, or not Morrow, Marquis, the admin, dear Marquis, please get ready to take a poll, with 1 being Morrow and 2 being Kiwikaki. Hence 1 on the left, 2 on the right. Alright, cool. Let's begin examining the start of the game. The start, the good old start of the game. Here comes 2 Zealots popping right on out. Not a single gas geyser taken at this point in time. In general, I would say if you are going to go for a 2 gateway opening like this, you're big... Oh, look at everyone voting 1 and 2. I didn't ask you to vote 1 and 2. I don't know. That's actually hilarious. I probably should have typed that tomorrow. I was like, okay, now 1's going to be Morrow, 2's going to be Kiwikaki. I have to tell Marky early just so he can set the poll up. And in the future, what I'll do is at key moments, I'll ask, do you want me to look at it from Morrow's point of view or Kiwikaki's point of view? But I didn't ask any question yet. People were just like, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's like, guys, I'm going to be asking you to hold up your fingers in a moment. And when I do, and people are like, 4. I have 4 is what I want. Whatever it ends up being, I'm in. Like, you guys are cute. Marky, that is so awesome. Everyone just jumping in. 2, 2. Oh, hey, look, a lot of people typing in digits of pi. Excellent. This is fantastic. Anytime you end up doing something new, I don't care if it's a passive build, I don't care if it's an early aggression build, you will do it way faster than you should. That's what everybody does. Everyone will always do it way faster. They will do things like lose focus on constantly building probes, lose focus on constantly building pylons, because the only thing your brain is focusing on is motherfucking gateways, right? Or the core of your build. If you are doing a really fast upgrades build for a strong army later, your gut instinct is to get that eBay out really quickly. So I would just say be careful of that. But Morrow's going to do everything fairly typically. Fairly typical opening. Morrow does do a pretty neat thing of taking his fast third at the back, and of course Kiwikaki always does this delightful pylon spreadage. I really think all players are going to have to do this in the upcoming future times. And on a map where you can get away with getting 3 hatches up early, We see a lot of players doing this kind of thing where if you are getting 3 hatches at some point in the near future, just get 3 queens up really early and use one as a creepy queen. And a good little creepy queen popping up. So cool. For the time being, I want to focus on Kiwikaki, just building himself all the zealots. All the zealots, damn it. Now, what I pose to the audience is, let's say you're the typical Zerg player. You generally are up against players who early expand a lot, so you're used to holding off warp gate pushes, you're used to holding off you're used to holding off things like some early Stargate rushes. What would you do if you saw this? I want you just to kind of stop and think about this more than actually start spamming the chat. Day 9, 2, day 9, I would do 2, or 1, I don't know, whatever. What would you actually end up doing? Interestingly, if we look at what Maro's doing, Maro is not doing anything different. Maro literally is just treating this like there's no attack coming. He's just being spot on with his larva injects. These larvae just popped. This queen will be close to 0 energy. This larva just popped. I mean, he's building 2 spine crawlers, not a gross excess of anything. Huge number of zealots now swinging in towards his base. Is there a +1 down? Nope, nothing like that at all. Delayed Cybernetics Core, now finally 3 gas geysers up. But only as this attack is coming does Maro actually begin building a lot of Zerglings. The rest of the time has been just drones. Very good stuff. Building a good amount of Zerglings and then immediately popping straight back into drone production. 1 extra queen again for a little bit more creeping. But this is generally what makes Kiwikaki's build good. The point of these zealots is not to kill. The point of these zealots is to get a 3rd. That's the real reason that we do this opening as Protoss. Very weird opening. You would generally think there's only a few maps you could use it on, but Kiwikaki pretty much shows consistently that these zealots are enough of a big deal that your Zerg buddy's going to have to do some sort of panic response type thing. That said, we do see a good amount of drones spread all over the place for Maro. He's only on 1 gas. He's just gotten his +1 attack upgrade. Maro's not overreacting in the slightest. Everything's generally staying quite safe. And I think it's reasonable to say that these zealots don't necessarily have to stay alive. You can be somewhat suicidal with them. You can just sort of work under the assumption that they are not going to be staying alive for very long. And at this point in time, again, you may think to yourself, oh gosh, you know, these Zerglings just, or excuse me, these zealots didn't do very much. I mean, we see Kiwikaki way behind in the food counts, units lost. I mean, from almost every angle, it just doesn't look very good for Kiwikaki. However, he has a 3rd base coming up very smoothly. Now, go through some cases in your head. From the Protoss point of view, well, what if he built a bunch of roaches for defense? Well, the zealots can easily retreat and not be surrounded, and we can pull back to some cannons. And we're going to have a reasonable amount of sentries to do some force fielding anyways, with all our chrono boosts being spent here. What if he goes Zerglings? Well, we'll probably lose the zealots, but then we still have all these force fields set up nicely anyways. And the big thing that this actually ends up doing is delaying the layer tech by quite a good bit. But what we're seeing more and more from Zerg players that I like a lot is this 3rd or 4th hatchery popping up before much else goes down. This is what we saw Idra do against Huck. Just a general theme that we see Idra doing is getting 4 hatches before the layer. In this case, Maro's getting it at around the same time as the layer. And from now till the end of the daily, or excuse me, the end of part 1, whoopsie daisies. From now to the end of part 1, we're just going to briefly look at what these 2 mid-games are going to look like. Think about that. And then we're going to take some questions. We're going to be taking some questions. Big things to note. Morrow has been on one gas, and then right when he was looking defended, he went hatchery and layer and 1, 2, 3 extra geysers. From Kiwikaki's point of view, he is going all defense passive mode. Misposition this a little bit, but notice just generally good planting of everything. And now it's going to be 3 bases as a Protoss versus 3 bases as a Zerg. And I'm always quite happy if I'm in Kiwikaki's position here. I'm not going to go for any huge gateway count right now because I'm not going to attack. I'm going to go for things like getting my upgrade count up. I'm going to go for things like starting to get a whole lot of Colossi. Yeah. So now what I want to do is I want to take some questions from either point of view. And I think it's important for you to say, from Zerg's point of view, what about this? You know, like from Kiwikaki's point of view, wouldn't you be worried about Mutalisks right now? From Zerg's point of view, I don't know how I would possibly stay alive. And we'll take 2 or 3 of those questions before going into part number 2. Yeah! And people in chat are still like, 2, 1, 2. So let's go ahead and refresh the Markio infamous question grabber. Cool. Motion TV says, Dear Day 9, why did Kiwikaki not grab his +1 attack upgrade for his Zealot timing push? I'm actually not super sure if there was a big reason he didn't do it. I know that like a lot of players will go for the really fast +1 attack upgrade. Like Elfie, I've seen do that and end up doing a lot of damage. We'd have to come back and pop into the game, and these are the sorts of questions that we can answer easily by one brief rewind through and just see. In particular, I'm wondering where his Chrono Boost was spent. Was he spending a Chrono Boost on... Or was it just that his gas was really late? So right now he just has enough gas for it. And how much? 160 seconds? We can cut that down to about 110 seconds. And at this point I'd also maybe wonder if he started to get really low on gas at some point or another. No, you know, I think he did have the gas. He maybe didn't quite have the time. And I think it was the time reason that was the biggest one, because to get very simple for a moment, there are builds where you can just get a +1 upgrade, do the same Zealot attack, and it's really strong. I've seen Kiwikaki do it. So yeah, I think it can be good. Part of me wants to say that when you are at the high level that Kiwikaki's playing at, often you'll encounter a situation like this in your head where you'll say, you know, the purpose of this is for me to get up an early expansion, and the purpose is not for me to necessarily kill a lot of things with this Zealot attack. So I don't really want to get this +1 upgrade very early. In particular, this Gas Geyser was super late from Kiwikaki. When I watch Elfie do his +1 2-gate build, Elfie gets that gas on like 18. It's a very early geyser. So I do think that if you go for the +1, it means you have to do more with this attack. If you just toss out a couple of Zealots and then eventually just start spending your gas on other things like the +1, you're in good shape. Another thing to note, if you get a really fast +1 with Protoss in any circumstance, you can't really get any other upgrades, because it's impossible to get the +1 really fast and then also get +2 really fast. Sure, you can maybe get armor, but the fact is you can Chrono Boost out upgrades so stupidly quickly with Protoss that it doesn't really matter. So what we'll actually see in this game is that Kiwikaki is going to start getting his +1 upgrade, and then he's going to end up getting his other upgrades quickly as well. Yeah. Let's take some more questions. Yeah. Joshua GD says, Dear Day 9, from Zerg's point of view, shouldn't you take advantage of that passivity to sneak an extra expansion? I don't think there's anything really wrong with sneaking another expansion now as Zerg. I mean, I think it's entirely reasonable just to be like, and plop down another expansion there. Yeah, I really don't think there's anything too bad with that necessarily. You have to, again, kind of go into a sort of doubly defensive mindset. Your Protoss is already sort of defensively minded. Kiwikaki is a clever enough player that he can begin exploiting that. The big question I would ask is, what sort of follow-up do you have with that? You can easily saturate all your bases with drones, so you're getting as many minerals as you want. Oh, this is the weird thing that I always struggle to explain. On 3 bases, you'll have 18 drones mining gas. Cool. And if you have 16 drones mining minerals at each one, that's about 50 drones. Sure, you can get a little bit more efficiency by throwing a few extra drones in there, but already, if you have 16, 16, and 16, you are basically maxed on mining minerals from all your bases. So if you try to get a 4th base, you need another 16 mining the minerals, another 6 mining the gas. It's another 24. So to actually get use out of that expansion for both minerals and gas, you're probably going to be getting close to 100 drones. So, in a lot of circumstances, what people will do is they'll take extra expansions and say, I'm just only getting the gas from it. That way you can actually continue to get more efficiency. If you're just transferring drones among 4 bases, it doesn't actually change that much. But in a lot of spots, as the Zerg, you'll say, well, I could take a 4th, but I'd rather be a little bit safer and be guaranteed to do what I want to do and get up to my mega ridiculous drone count. I'm hoping for a kind of simple series of questions to take really fast. Simple series of questions to take really fast. I do think, though, that like taking the 4th is not a big deal. So Kopachi says, Day 9, from a Zerg point of view, how are you supposed to harass that 3rd base cost effectively? It's a time like this when the sort of less commonly used Mutalisk ends up being quite strong. Yeah, I mean, just using the Mutalisks, using drops, a lot of Baneling drop plays are really strong. It's kind of funny because so many avenues of attack that you would never even consider suddenly become good if someone does something wacky like this. Anytime someone is spread out on expansions, doing any kind of harassment or whacking at him is going to be really strong. If he's shelled up tight passively and you're trying to do some Mutalisk harass, it really won't be very good. But Mutalisks straight up are going to be good. That's one way to exploit this. Taking a really fast 4th is another way to exploit this. Going for a ridiculously fast series of upgrades and a hive is a good way to support this. I would probably exploit this 3rd base by going straight for a hive and a 4th and just playing mega passive mode. And I would make up to 100 drones, and I'd probably make way more spine crawlers than I need. Because what can Protoss really do about it? Let's go ahead and take a fast break, and when we come back, we gonna do part number 2. Aw, yeah.